Level 1, the promise. It starts with a text message. 3 words. Come outside now. Marcus sends it at 6:47 on a Friday evening, and when Priya walks out of her apartment building into the thick July heat, she stops on the second step because there it is, parked at the curb like something out of a movie neither of them could quite afford to be in yet. A 2025 Genesis G80 Sport. Cinematic silver. The kind of car that looks expensive even when it is standing still. She comes down the stairs slowly. She runs one hand along the hood. She does not say anything for a long moment. Then she looks at Marcus, who is leaning against the driver door with his arms folded, and she says, "We can actually afford this." And Marcus, who has been rehearsing this answer in his head since the financing was approved, says, "We worked for this." Which is not the same thing as yes. But in that moment, standing in the warm evening air with the chrome catching the last light of the day, it feels close enough. They are 26 and 27 years old. Combined income just crossed $118,000 for the first time in their relationship. Not wealthy, not untouchable, but more than either of them grew up watching their parents manage, and that gap between where they started and where they are now is precisely the size and shape of the car sitting at the curb. The payment is $1,041 a month, 72 months, 8.4% APR on a $52,000 purchase price. The finance manager at the dealership walked them through the numbers with the calm efficiency of someone who does this 40 times a week. He said 1,041 the way you would say the weather. Inevitable, just a fact about the world. They drive home with the windows down. Priya has her feet up on the dash. Marcus has one hand on the wheel and the other resting on the center console near her knee. The sound system is playing something neither of them will remember later, but the feeling, that specific feeling of being young and employed and together and in a car that costs more than anything either of them has ever owned, that feeling they will remember for a long time, for reasons that eventually have nothing to do with happiness. Level 2, the show. The car does something to their social life that they did not plan for and do not entirely resist. It becomes part of how other people see them as a couple. The unit that showed up in the G80, the ones who are doing well. At Priya's cousin's birthday dinner, 3 separate people ask about it. At Marcus's firm's summer gathering, his director walks past it in the parking structure and says, "Nice vehicle," and keeps walking. And Marcus does not mention it again, but he thinks about it for 2 days. Their social media gets a photo from inside the car. Sunset on the windshield. A coffee cup in the cup holder. No caption. 47 likes in the first hour. Priya starts to notice. She sits differently in the passenger seat at red lights. A posture that has nothing to do with comfort and everything to do with what she thinks the car communicates about her to the person in the car next to them. Marcus parks it carefully, deliberately, away from other cars in the lot so the doors stay clean. He is 12 minutes late to a dinner reservation once because of this. They do not talk about any of this out loud. Couples rarely name the performance while they are performing it. It is only later, much later, when the math becomes impossible to avoid, that they will look back and see what was actually happening in those early months. They were renting a version of themselves they could not yet afford to own. Level 3, the crack. Month 5. Priya is sitting at the kitchen table on a Sunday night doing what she calls the reconciliation, her word for the thing she dreads most, opening every account simultaneously and making the numbers agree with each other. The car payment is $1,041. That part they knew. What they understood less clearly when they signed is what a car actually costs when you add the full picture. Insurance on a luxury vehicle with 2 drivers under 30 in their zip code runs $388 a month. The G80 takes premium fuel. At their current mileage, that is $215 a month. The first service visit at month 4 was $290 for things she did not entirely understand, but did not feel she could question. Because you do not question the cost of maintaining a car you chose. She writes the real number down on a piece of paper. $1,041 in payments, $388 in insurance, $215 in fuel, $95 in average monthly maintenance. That is $1,739 a month, nearly $20,900 a year. According to the AAA 2024 Your Driving Costs Report, the average annual cost of owning a new vehicle in America is $12,300. Theirs sits 70% above that floor. She does not show Marcus the paper that night. She folds it and puts it in the drawer under the silverware where things go when she needs to think about them before she says them out loud. The month gets tighter. They stop ordering in as much. Priya moves a weekend trip to her friend's bachelorette to the following quarter, then cancels it entirely. Marcus starts bringing lunch to the office 4 days a week and does not explain why to his colleagues. Each of these adjustments, examined alone, seems reasonable, even mature, the kind of budgeting adults do. What neither of them says is what connects all the adjustments. The car is the connective tissue. The car is why. But naming that means reopening a conversation neither of them is ready to have yet about what they agreed to, what they expected, and what it has actually cost them. Not just financially. Level 4, the math. They are 28 and 29. Priya has had the paper in that drawer for 11 months. Then something happens that has nothing to do with the car and everything to do with it. Their friends Danny and Quaim buy a house. A 3-bedroom in a neighborhood 20 minutes from where Marcus and Priya rent. There is a housewarming. There is a yard. There is the particular quality of light in an early evening kitchen that belongs to 2 people who actually own the walls around them. Priya stands in it holding a glass of wine and feels something she cannot name cleanly but will spend the next 6 weeks thinking about. Quaim drives a 2019 Corolla with 74,000 miles on it. Danny's car is 3 years older than that. Neither of them ever posted their cars on social media. That night back in their apartment, Priya gets the paper out of the drawer. She puts it on the table. Marcus reads it. Neither of them speaks for a moment that is longer than it should be. Then Marcus opens his laptop and they do the real math together, which is the kind of math that changes things once you see it. The G80 was purchased for $52,000. According to Edmunds, luxury vehicles lose an average of 23% of their value in the first year and up to 58% over 5 years. Their car is currently worth approximately $36,000 on the open market. They still owe $43,200 on the loan. They are underwater by $7,200. Paying interest on money, they borrowed to own something worth less than what they owe on it. Then there is the second number, the one that sits differently. If they had taken that $1,739 in real monthly costs and invested it instead into a broad index fund at the S&P 500 historical average return of 10% annually, over 5 years that compounds to approximately $134,000. $134,000, not a fantasy. A down payment, an actual house, an actual yard, that specific quality of light in a kitchen that belongs to you. They sit with that number for a while. The car is in the parking garage below them. It is the same car it was the night Marcus sent that text. Come outside now. It has not changed. They are the ones who have changed. They are the ones doing arithmetic about their own future at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night and not liking the answers. Level 5, the wait. Month 38. They are in the car together driving nowhere in particular, which is something they used to do in the early months when the car still felt like an event. Now it feels like what it is. Transportation that costs them $1,739 a month. Priya says, I think we need to talk about the car. Marcus says, I know. That is the whole conversation for about 4 minutes. Then Priya says, I do not think we bought a car. I think we bought a feeling. And I think the feeling is gone. Marcus does not argue. He has been thinking the same thing in a language he did not have words for until she said it out loud. Here is the data underneath that moment. In 2024, the Federal Reserve reported that total auto loan balances in America reached $1.64 trillion. The average new car payment hit $735 a month, but among buyers of luxury and near-luxury vehicles, the median payment exceeded $1,100. Loan delinquencies of 90 days or more reached their highest rate since 2010, concentrated precisely among borrowers who stretched into vehicles at the top of their affordability range. The National Association of Realtors reported that the median age of a first-time homebuyer in America reached 38 in 2024. It was 33 in 2019. 5 years. Something happened in that window. A generation was told that arriving looked like a specific thing, and then borrowed money at 8% to perform that arrival, while the actual asset, the equity, the compounding ground beneath the life they were trying to build, kept moving further away. Marcus and Priya are not a statistic, but they are sitting inside the exact mechanism that produces the statistic. And they both know it now. In the dark of a car, neither of them loves the way they used to. Level 6, the letting go. They listed on a Thursday. By Sunday, they have 2 serious offers. By the following Wednesday, a man named Gerald, patient, thorough, clearly someone who has done this before, drives it to a mechanic for an independent inspection, comes back with a certified check and takes the car. Priya watches it leave from the window of their apartment. She expects grief. She expects the particular ache of giving back something you chose. She feels something else instead. Her shoulders drop about an inch. They settle the loan deficiency, cover the gap between what the car sold for and what they still owed, and account for 38 months of payments, insurance, fuel, and maintenance. When the final accounting is done, the total material yield of the G80 is $3,100. $3,100. The yield of 38 months of $1,739 real monthly costs, of every carefully chosen parking spot, every social media post, every compliment accepted in a parking lot. Of that July evening when the chrome caught the last light and she ran her hand along the hood and everything felt like it was finally becoming the shape they had always imagined. They put the $3,100 into an index fund. They do not announce it. They each get a used car. Combined monthly cost $510 including insurance. The difference, $1,229 a month, goes directly into a joint brokerage account set to auto-invest. That night they order food in for the first time in months without checking the balance first. It is the smallest version of freedom. It is enough to show them what the larger version will feel like. Level 7, the truth. They are 31 and 32. They have a yard now. Not the yard they imagined standing in Danny and Quame's kitchen 4 years ago. A smaller yard, a starter yard. But it is theirs, and the equity is compounding in silence the way the car never did. Sometimes Priya thinks about that July evening on the apartment steps. The silver car at the curb. The feeling that arrived with it, something like proof, something like permission to take up space. She does not regret the feeling. The feeling was real. The desire underneath it was real. Growing up watching money disappear before the month ended, building something together from the beginning, wanting one moment that looked the way success was supposed to look, those were not character flaws. That was 2 people trying to make something mean something. What the car could not do, what it was never going to be able to do, was actually deliver what they were looking for. It could perform the arrival. It could not produce it. And there is a permanent, unclosable gap between those 2 things. Here is what nobody tells you about ego-driven financial decisions when you make them as a couple. They feel like love at the time. They feel like we built something together. We both worked for this. We both deserve this moment. And that feeling is so close to genuine partnership that it is nearly indistinguishable from it. The difference is that real partnership builds something. The performance of partnership funds something that depreciates. At 31 and 32, They understand something that was impossible to understand at 26 and 27, not because they were wrong to want what they wanted, but because they had not yet lived enough of the math to feel it in their bodies. There is a difference between buying something that reflects who you are and buying something to signal who you are becoming. One is an expression. The other is a down payment on a performance that nobody can actually afford to keep running. The G80, the Camaro, the loaded pickup, the leased BMW. These are all versions of the same sentence. A beautiful, expensive, depreciating sentence about who you want people to think you are. What most of us need is not another sentence. We need the paragraph, the chapter, the patient, invisible construction of something that grows in the background while nobody is watching and does not require an audience to be real. Because that is the whole game, it turns out. Not the car at the curb in the golden hour. Not the feeling in the chest when the sound system does that physical thing. Not the posture in the passenger seat at the red light. The game is the account you build when nobody is watching. The transfer you automate when it is not exciting. The decision you make at midnight with a calculator and no audience. The version of yourselves who chooses the future over the performance, quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to applaud. They did not need a better car. They needed a better question. And some years later, sitting in a kitchen that is theirs, with a yard that is theirs, and a brokerage account that is finally starting to look like something, they finally know what that question is. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. See you in the next.